Welcome to the Digitally Dreaming Off the Ground podcast. Today's episode will be about the 98-99 NFL playoffs for the 98 49ers, and specifically the play that defined the playoffs, executed by this man right here. This man right here to culminate to this play right here. So, essentially, with all the kind of noise of the playoffs heading into that year, basically, Steve Young, as we talked about a few episodes ago about the 94 Niners, Steve Young was able to conquer his demons in 1994 by basically vanquishing the Dallas Cowboys in the championship game, getting over the hump, and winning Super Bowl 29, right? And essentially, hold on, wait, let me put this for you guys. Super Bowl 29. Right here. Oh, where's the camera? This way. Right there we go. So Super Bowl 29, obviously the 49ers solidified themselves as one of the most premier teams in the 1990s, right? But essentially there is now a new hurdle to overcome, which was three-time MVP Brett Favre, right? 2 years after the Niners won the Super Bowl, Brett Favre led the Packers to their first ever Super Bowl in the post Lombardi era, Lombardi Bart Starr era. And essentially, with all the types of expectations, that had to go into, that game, the Niners lost to the Packers, if I'm not mistaken, 3 consecutive times in the playoffs. I think 96, 97, 98. Sorry, 96, 97. And now, obviously, 1998, the 1998 NFL season was the 49ers' chance to really kind of make some noise, kind of get themselves over the hump and be able to vanquish and conquer the demons, right? And so obviously coming into Candlestick, the Packers, they're coming in, with obviously 2 Super Bowl runs under their belt, 1 Super Bowl win. And essentially with that, obviously the Packers were in a position to basically just do as they wanted, with the Niners. I mean, they had proven up to that point, Brett Favre over Steve Young, in the playoffs. That was pretty remarkable. And so at this time was January 1999. Yeah, I remember I forgot what movie we were watching. I think it was Star Wars or Toy Story, or I don't know. We're at the theater. I was at the theater with my dad and my brother watching. We're about to go watch a movie. This is in Fremont, California. And then basically, my dad's like, he has the radio call on the radio. And then basically on the radio call, I think it was Starkey. Was Starkey's the announcer back then? Was Starkey? Joe Starkey. Anyways, he's calling the play. And then basically, Steve Young gets the ball, and then he's looking, throws it down the field, and then Owens caught it, right? And all the noise, right, for Terrell Owens and Steve Young, ultimately, with that play, they were able to finally beat the Packers and advance, past Green Bay to the NFC divisional round. This is the wild card. They advanced the divisional round, January 1999. And so, why is this play so important? The reason why, obviously, the implications, right? Had the Niners lost, there would be a narrative that Brett Favre owned Steve Young, just like how Steve Young was able to beat the Cowboys, earlier in the decade, the 1990s dynasty, the dynasty of the 90s, the Dallas Cowboys. And just like Brett Favre, just like Troy Aikman having the narrative that he was able to defeat any opponent, Brett Favre would also be able to hold out over Steve Young, or kind of the whole thing of the monkey on my back, right? There'd be another monkey on Steve Young's back not being able to beat Brett Favre. I mean, when you think about Steve Young's career, it's even more remarkable that he was able to defeat Brett Favre, and he was able to defeat, Troy Aikman first, and he was able to defeat Brett Favre, and win a Super Bowl in a very, very low 90s era at the NFC. The Dallas Cowboys, the Green Bay Packers, you had the Giants, the Redskins in the first half. And then, it was a loaded era. So anyways, basically, I think that, the 49ers, were able to, so the play itself, I thought the play itself, obviously, Terrell Owens was double covered on the play, and he was able to catch it right across the middle, and it was, I don't know how, Steve Young was able to get it, right. And I don't even know how T.O. was able to catch it, with the amount of the tight window and the tight space. And this is why I feel Steve Young was more underappreciated, is even more underappreciated than I alluded to in the 1994 Niners season episode, because like Steve Young was able to do so much as a quarterback, and I think that, the fact that, he is not considered as a top 10 quarterback on many people's lists, people should reconsider that. I think ultimately, the guy, he was able to beat, Troy Aikman in a pivotal game to win the NFC and then make the Super Bowl and win it. And then he was able to beat Brett Favre, 5 years later or 4 years later. So, I mean, what more does Steve Young need to do to prove himself, and obviously when he retired, like I said earlier, he retired, the highest passer rating, most rushing yards and most rushing TDs by a quarterback. And, he really innovated, for quarterbacks who make plays with their feet, kind of leading the way for guys like Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers. Not necessarily saying he innovated or created that position. Obviously, Randall Cunningham and others, they also get credit for that. But Steve Young really perfected that position. Like I said earlier, he perfected that position of mobile dual threat quarterback, right? So, I mean, with the catch 3, I mean, the legacy is, obviously the Candlestick Park, obviously we had the catch before, 17 years prior, right? January 1982, with this helmet right here. And the catch 2, led by T.O. and Steve Young, which I was able to actually, witness, during my lifetime. It was just like, wow, like, this really solidified why the Niners beating the Packers was such a big deal. You know what I mean? When we finally beat the Packers, because we could never beat them. And I remember as a kid how good Brett Favre was, And I remember how he always lost Brett Favre in the early 90s. So finally getting over that hump, it was tremendous. So I think, the Niners, the catch 2 legacy lives on, obviously in the hearts and, in the minds of all Niners fans. But I think more importantly than just the catch, I think ultimately it's just, the 90s Niners were just such a dominant dynasty. They held the record for road postseason wins. They held the record for most postseason wins in road games and road wins as well. And they held the longest playoff streak up to that point. I think was it 17 straight years of making the postseason or something ridiculous. Sorry, what's 17 straight years for making the postseason? 17 wins. Something like that, or some consecutive streak, in the season. So, I mean, I think the 99ers and the catch 2 solidified how great Steve Young and Terrell Owens were. And I think as Niners fans, we can just appreciate that. So, hopefully, you guys, also can appreciate this whole episode for the catch 2 in the 1998 Niners season. Obviously, they went and lost to the guy on the other side of that wall, Randy Moss and the Vikings in the next round. That's my guy right there. But, ultimately, I wish that we were beat the Vikings. And, I mean, the 15-1 Minnesota Vikings had a very, very strong chance of making the Super Bowl that year. But, obviously that's the NFL. So like how the Bills, in the 1990 Giants, they would have lost the 1990 Bills had Sean Ledetta made his field goal. Had Gary Anderson made his field goal, the Vikings would have won too. So this is the beautiful thing about football, right? And that's what we're all fans. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you for tuning in. God bless.